Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane has said that Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane has failed in her duties. Mkhwebane recently published a report in which she found that Mabuyane pocketed to the tune of 450,000 rand. That was from money that was allocated to cover costs related to memorial service for ANC stalwart Winnie Madikizela-Mandela. But Mabuyane is now taking that report on review and has today criticized the Public Protector's conduct and said that the public needs protection from her.
Yes, Public Protector has missed an opportunity to be Public Protector. I think the public needs to be protected from her as a Public Protector. Herself, I'm taking that report for review on substantive grounds as well as on technical grounds. As I was listening to the report being tabled throughout, I never had a scene of that report. I only received that report at 4 p.m. when she had already delivered it. So generally there are issues about how she behaves, how she conducts herself, but we are going for a review. That's a decision. We are going for a review. We are consulting with lawyers. Lawyers are filing papers. By mid next week, papers will be in court, filing for review.
Let's talk about this then with political analyst Ongama Mtimka, as well as some of the other scandals plaguing the Eastern Cape. Ongama, always good to speak to you. So you've heard Oscar Mabuyane at least responding for the first time on camera to the findings of the Public Protector. But interesting, isn't it? Because over the last year or so, he has positioned himself as somewhat of an anti-corruption warrior, especially in commenting on the ANC step-aside resolution and the likes. How much do these findings by the Public Protector chip away from that image that he was trying to project?
Good afternoon, Tembe. I don't think that we should take away from any efforts or any pressure that each of the politicians raises in order to act on corruption within the party. By the same vein, when it is they who are implicated, we must acknowledge it that corruption has been rampant in the Eastern Cape. And his response to me, Tembi, shows lack of humility. Because one, it's one thing to want to defend or to delay the implementation of certain remedial action. But for somebody in his position, and if he was committed to fighting against corruption, one thing that Busisiwe Mkhwebane has done is to show how the money that he received as an alleged loan from Babalo Madikizela was a direct result of a corrupt activity. Now, when somebody who's positioning themselves as a champion for anti-corruption responds to that, the one response that we expect should be one that says, on the realization now that this indeed was directly linked to activities of corruption, the loan which I thought was a clean exercise between comrades, I am now regretting having taken it, and I commit to paying back the money. Now, it would be interesting as to whether when the affidavits were first deposed by Mr. Bam, and now that the Public Protector's report is coming out, what Oscar Mabuyane's attitude is to where the source of the money that he thought he was borrowing from a comrade has been. If he has made no corrective action whatsoever, then we can, the conclusion that Busisiwe Mkhwebane is making, that here there is probably, on a balance of probabilities, there is probably knowledge on the part of Oscar Mabuyane that in fact this money came from there, especially considering the fact that the ANC as well got a share of money, and at the time I think he was in the executive there's no way that politicians flawed and deeply negatively affected as the credibility of the office of the Public Protector has been. So there is no way we should accept politicians using that as a cover and not actually applying themselves to the merits of the case that's before them.
So, Ongama, just on what you've just said, the fact that the ANC itself, according to this report by the Public Protector, was found to have received a sum of money related to funds that were meant for Winnie Madikizela-Mandela's memorial service. You've got Oscar Mabuyane, who, as you say, lacked humility today in his response to those media questions about this report. Is it fair then to say that he gave precisely that response because, based on history, he knows that given his position, nothing is likely to happen to him? There'll be no consequences.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate if nothing happens. My view is that the ANC, fortunately, has processed this issue in the province. When it did, Thembekile, I think that they can be forgiven for saying there had not been a rigorous process to test the origin of the money. Now that the ANC was comfortable, and by the way, I'm happy that Oscar Mabuyane also complied with the Public Protector in the sense that submitted the loan agreement. The ANC settled the matter on the basis of that. My view is that now that the source of the money is very much clear and Busisiwe Mkhwebane has followed a rigorous validation process, and in fact, it dismisses the claim that Babalo Matikizela is advancing, or the claim of the municipal manager in Mbuyane. So, and the only viable account and the only sensible account is that which she has verified through bank statements, which were legally obtained, among other things. So now that that information is there, the party should not rely on the legislative process. It should ask, in fact, Oscar Mabuyane, Babalo Matikizela, and Weziwe Tikani, among others, all actually should be leading by example and say, we are withdrawing from this, even from the party-based electoral process, because both of them are actually running to lead the party in the province. The party at a national level, Integrity Commission of the party, should actually pay attention to this report and say, well, the province had processed it. We are not happy now that the report has come, validating correspondence between Oscar Mabuyane's wife and the architect and Babalo Matikizela, and in terms of the source of the money. It can't leave it to this process of a review, because no review is going to disprove the benefit and the origin of the money. It wouldn't make sense at all. So if the court does, on the basis of the technicality that there is no way to prove that Oscar Mabuyane knew beyond, the suggestions that beyond the suggestions, that have been the probabilities that the Public Protector has made, they should be careful to point out what in the review they would be finding the problem with. Yeah, and not necessarily dismiss a report which, to me, has been developed rigorously and with evidence, as well as cross-examination in meetings, and produced a good account of the trail of money among these politicians.
So this report deals with what is essentially a years-old issue and allegations in the Eastern Cape, right? But it brings the number of scandals in the Eastern Cape to 2, when you pair it with the stadium controversy in Komani, the sports field, that's now being investigated by the Hawks, a price tag of 15 million rand. But when you look at it, even if you're not a qualified engineer, it doesn't look like a multi-million rand project. But will these 2 issues be voting concerns for people in the Eastern Cape when it's such an ANC stronghold?
Absolutely, they will. They add to people's lived experiences. There are allegations in rural areas of how people sabotage pipelines for water in order for them to get tenders to deliver trucks. So there's a lot of experiences that people have that show that mismanagement and corruption is negatively affecting them. So these scandals do add, which is precisely why, Thembi, I'm saying the ANC needs to go back to the principles implied in Section 25 of I forgot now the specific rule. I think Rule 25, if my memory serves me well, that deals with the integrity and bringing the party into disrepute, and actually stop the narrowing of the scope to issues of people being charged before courts, but rather all those who've brought the party into disrepute. And I think that the party has been brought into disrepute by these scandals. There are two in the Public Protector's report. There's the 2.2 million, and then there's the 1.1 million, and then this one of the 50, and then all the municipalities where people are killing each other for tenders, and life in those municipalities has become very difficult for people. The ANC has got to act, and it can't show limitations to questions of who's been charged when there were allegations that are known that exist. And the other issue, Tim, is that there are questions in my mind about to what extent do these politicians control the hawks in their provinces and the police, because these cases ought to have at least gotten some traction by now, because charges were laid by Mr. Bam. Why hasn't there been progress? I think that Shamila Batoyi needs to actually look into this. Mr. Lebeya also needs to look into this and not give a report to the Public Protector that says, yes, indeed, we're investigating the issue, and actually doesn't say where in the investigation process are the cases.
Ongama Mtimka speaking to us from the Eastern Cape about scandals in that province. Always great to speak to you, Ongama. Until next time, thank you.